Okay, so this is week 2 for the nutrition seminar, and for everyone viewing at home, we were just going over the different losses that everyone had here that's attending tonight. So if you've lost anything, email me so I can write it on the board here. But we've got 8.5 pounds, 7 pounds, 3, 6, 3, 3, 2, 3, like, I mean, people are losing weight. So if you're doing it, you're losing weight. It's just the way it works, okay? So, really good so far for everyone. You're headed in the right direction. This next week that we're going to go over is basically the meal plan that I'm going to have you following is called sustainable eating, because that's what it is, and you should be able to do it long term for the rest of your life. It's just whole foods, healthy. You make it yourself. It's not processed, you know, that old game. But it's different, right? Because we're not used to eating like that, so that's why we're going into it in detail, in depth. And, you know, like, what was it? It was G.I. Joe that always said, you know, the more you know. Oh wait, no, that was like ABC After School Specials. Anyway, so the more you know, the better equipped you are to battle what comes at you. So in this week, we're going to go over macronutrients. We're going to go over, let's see, what else? Portion sizes, how to read a nutrition label, just so that you're prepared as you're going into your next endeavor of healthy eating. You're ready for it. Okay, so for macronutrients. Macronutrients are the 3 main categories: protein, carbs, and fat. Right? So pretty simple. Protein. It's animal meat, it's eggs, it comes from dairy. Protein is made up of amino acid building blocks, and those amino acids, you can, so there's 20 different amino acids, and you can imagine all of them have a different hard hat with a different job to do in your body. They're the workers. They get to work in your body, they rebuild muscle tissue, ligaments, tendons, they go to work. Okay, so that's why you need protein in your diet. You can't just not have any protein. You don't have to eat animal meat, of course. You can be a vegan because there's a lot of protein found in nature, what, you know, grows out of the ground. Carbohydrates, by definition, is anything that grows out of the ground. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So if you remember photosynthesis and how it works, it's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen creating a plant, right? And so carbohydrate is just anything that grows out of the ground, and you know that that has energy in it. We burn carbohydrates for energy. It's how you move. It's your body's preferred source of energy. There is another energy source, of course. It's fats. Fats do other things besides just give you energy. They they actually help your nervous system to work properly. It helps your joints, everything. So fats are really important for your overall health and wellness, not just for giving you extra energy. Let's see here. Now, protein can be used for energy, but only as like a survival mechanism that your body has. So your body can convert protein into carbohydrate energy. It's not preferred, and it's not long-term healthy. You know, you've heard about Atkins diet. Atkins diet uses this and helps people lose weight, although, like I say, it's not long-term healthy. It's really hard on your body to do this. And what your body does is, as it's converting protein into energy, it's a process known as gluconeogenesis. Really cool long word. In this process, it takes the protein and converts it into glucose so your body can use it, but it gives off what's known as a ketone. When you get too many ketones in your body, they start combining to form molecules of ammonia. It makes you very acidic internally. It's really hard on your liver to process all those toxins out of your body, because therefore it wears you out. So that's why the Atkins diet is detrimental long term. Not to mention, when you do have carbs, your body freaks out. Oh my gosh, you gave me carbs. Let's store this for later because we're probably not going to get me again. Okay, so if you try and rely on that method of weight loss, any carbs can be very disastrous because your body's going to try and store it right away. Okay, let's move on real quick to the micronutrients. Those are your vitamins and minerals. If you've taken a multivitamin, that is going to be basically micronutrients that you're getting out of that. There are also something else found in nature, phytochemicals or phytonutrients. And so this is kind of a new development for nutrition science, in that before it was thought, okay, you need your macronutrients and micronutrients and you'll be fine. Take a multivitamin, don't worry about eating fruits and vegetables. No, that's not possible apparently. Okay, so phytonutrients are found in fruits and vegetables. They are what give you like true life, true wellness. If you have ever heard of the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, story about a gentleman who was on, and if you haven't seen that, it's a really good watch. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It's on Netflix. You can even just Google it and go to the Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead website and watch it. But guy who was just like the title of the movie, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And the doctors had him on all these medications, and here you need this for that, and you need this for that, and we're going to need to put you on this because you're taking this. It's a hot mess. So he started juicing fruits and vegetables and letting nature heal him. And that's exactly what it did. He was eventually off of all of his medication, no problems, perfectly healthy. And so he's just, but you know, juicing is just a way to get all those phytonutrients and the micronutrients into your body with very little macronutrients. So he was forcing his body to use stored fat for energy in that process, even stripping away all the fiber and really just getting huge doses of micronutrients and phytonutrients because there's no fiber, and just, you know, juicing all day long, just tons, just one after another, right? Okay, pictures of it. Anyway, your body can fight off pretty much anything. So we've got, you know, dealing with autoimmune diseases and other diseases. Your body is an amazing piece of equipment that can fight off just about anything if it has the right components to help it fight. And that's what you're getting with phytonutrients and micronutrients. Those are what you need in order to fight pretty much anything off, okay? Any disease, anything. Your body's killer cells, they function off of your phytonutrients. That's what builds it up. Okay, you've got the ability to pretty much just live a perfectly healthy life if you do it right. Okay, moving on. Well, real quick, just a little side note mention here. You're not going to get really any of those good things to fortify your body from processed food. They strip it all out. Because processed food, well, it's processed, and usually always one of those processes involves heat. Heat kills everything good about your food. So anything, I think that the temperature is 104 degrees. Anything above that, phytonutrients and micronutrients die. They're no longer usable by your body. Okay? Like I say, in processed food, one of the ways so that processed food lasts longer, preserves it, they heat the ingredients before they put it in really high, and then it has a way longer shelf life, and therefore it's dead food. Yes. Yeah, so the question is if you cook your vegetables, well, spinach in particular, but any vegetables, the nutrient value, does it go down? Yes. So, and remember that temperature is 104 degrees. So that's what known as blanching. So like if you put your vegetables in a pot with a little bit of water, you turn it up, get that water going, you see steam start coming through, it's done. So having a glass lid is important. As soon as you see that steam hitting that lid, just turn it off, okay? And that'll pretty much assure that you're not going too hot. Yes?
So that yummy ham that I think like a potato is basically just yummy without being all that value?
The question is then, you know, potatoes, does that fall into that as well? It's just a little bit different because it's a starch. Okay, so it's a root vegetable, but it is a little bit different. It's not like the green leafy or the vibrant colored fruits that that get denatured while cooking. So the macronutrients value is preserved when you heat it. It's the micro and phytonutrients that diminish. In root vegetables, there are some phytonutrient, micronutrient. However, it's mainly you're getting the macros. And just a side note, since it was brought up, how you cook a starch depends on how your body digests it, or how quickly. So when you bake a potato, it changes the starch in a way that is different from boiling it. And baking a potato makes it higher glycemic, means it digests faster and gives you more blood sugar quicker versus boiling it. So boiling potatoes is better for you in terms of your weight loss goals. It's, you know, not always convenient to boil potatoes. Microwaving potatoes kind of does the same thing as boiling it. However, I microwave all my potatoes. It's too quick and easy. Yeah. So, you know, you take that information for what it's worth. If you have time and you want to boil potatoes, do it. I recommend it. But if you don't have time and you don't really want to do it, just don't over bake or over microwave them, because that's when, like, if they get really soft and mushy, that's the problem. Okay, it's just become so, your diet, you have acid in your stomach, and that soft mushy potato hits that, and your acid just breaks it down, and boom, blood sugar. And remember, when your blood sugar goes too high, it's dangerous. It's just a problem with diabetics. They don't regulate their blood sugar. It goes too high, they can have a lot of problems, so they gotta take insulin. You don't have to take insulin. Your pancreas puts out insulin. Cool, but what happens when the insulin grabs the blood sugar? Storage. That's where it puts it, okay? So just think of you and your energy like it's a glass of water. If you fill up that glass of water too much and it overflows, that's when you're putting it into fat storage. So if you fill that glass of water up, you're always trying to think, how much energy do I need right now? This is when we're going back to, like, talking about how much carbs to have before bed. You know, if you just worked out, your glass is empty. You can have some carbs, it's okay. You're not gonna send it to storage. But if you keep doing that, like, you know, maybe you worked out at 5 and you went home and you had some good carbs to replace what you burned, and then later on you're like, you know, I'm still hungry, I should have some more carbs. Be careful with that, because you filled up your cup earlier with that meal, and it probably, you know, over time, you can imagine there's a little pinhole in the bottom of that cup. And it's constantly draining. That's just your resting metabolic rate. As you're working out, you know, of course it's gonna drain a lot faster, you're burning a lot more energy, but just keep that in your head as you're eating your carbs. Don't overfill the cup, okay? And then back to what she was talking about with cooking your fruits and vegetables, just be careful with it. Don't overcook them. You know, warming them up a little bit on the stove, not a problem, but don't overcook it. Okay, you want them to still be, you want some crunch to it. You know, if it's a crunchy vegetable, you don't want it to be soft and squishy. You went too far. It's a kind of a fine line, so just play with that. You still get the fiber out of it, and you still get some macronutrient if you overcook it, so it's not worthless. You don't have to throw it away, start over. You know, you can still eat it, just, you know, use it as a learning experience. Okay, I did that a little too long that time. Okay, so, kind of went over all this in this next section. What is a macro with protein, with fat? Just to break down fats, unsaturated fats, so those are coming from plants. You got the oils, sunflower, sesame seed, corn, soy oil. Monosaturated fats, this is the olive, canola, rapeseed, avocado, nuts. That's where you're getting that from, okay? So saturated fats, a little bit harder for your body to break down, but still very necessary for your optimal health. You just have to be, once again, more cautious with how much you have. Butter, cheese, whole fat dairy, you know, all the different animal meats will have some saturated fats in them. With chicken, it's just mainly in the skin. Palm and coconut oils have more of the saturated fat in them. Now, like I was saying though, you still need saturated fat, and saturated fat from all natural organic sources is not processed food, and you can use it, you can burn it, right? Your body does that for a living. Get it? Okay. But now this last one, trans fats, that's where the problem comes in. You don't need those for sure, and that's really what you're getting out of processed food. You know, it's become a big deal with processed food because people came, oh, trans fats are really bad for you. You can't burn these. Right, you can't really burn trans fats. You eat them, they're going to storage, and your body's not going to want to burn them. A fruits and veggies detox is one of the best ways to get rid of that trans fat though, because it's toxic and your fat is holding it. And so that's a way to get it out, is to let your body feed it all the good phytonutrients and your body will try and flush it out, okay? And that's what you, like I say here, fried foods, cookies, pastries, candy bars, packaged food, processed food, frozen meals. And if it's under 1 gram of trans fat, it doesn't have to be listed on the label. So you can have 0.9 grams of trans fat, and it doesn't have to be on there. So you know, no trans fat. Yes, there is. Kind of rude. Anyway, so just don't eat processed food and you're safe. So carbs, let's break that down. 3 different types of carbs. Simple carbs, these are the sugars, okay? They digest fast, so anything that are simple carbs, these will rush your blood sugar, so you're trying to be cautious with how much you consume of them at one time. So usually, like, you know where to find sugar with fruit has a fair amount of sugar in it, which is not bad sugar, it's fructose. And if you're limiting the other sources of sugar you have in your diet because you're not eating processed food, by the way, processed food usually always has sugar because sugar is an awesome preservative. So, if you're not having any processed food, you're probably not really having much sugar at all. So eat fruit, that's your sugar. And it's really good as a snack because if you're low on energy and you eat a couple pieces of fruit, blood sugar, cool, I feel better. Your body starts using it, there you go. Hold you off to the next meal. Complex carbs. These are like the more starchy carbs, so you're getting those from whole grains, starchy vegetables, beans, root vegetables like potatoes, okay? You know, oatmeal is a good complex carb. Brown rice, good complex carb. Roughage, this is fiber. So you're getting that from different sources, but the whole grains once again will have fiber, nuts and seeds, root vegetables, beans, they have good amount of fiber. And so that roughage is another really good thing to always be trying to add into your meals because that's going to make you digest things slower. You really don't absorb too much of anything. You absorb some nutrients through your stomach lining, but it's all waiting to get into your small intestine to be absorbed. So if you have more roughage, it takes up more space, and therefore it's all going to go through the small intestine slower, and therefore if you do have things that are going to give you blood sugar, it'll go in slower over a time period and not boom. You know, once again, trying to avoid that blood sugar spike. Okay, now getting into portion sizes, I won't go over all of these, but just so you have something. Yeah?
Sorry, and not to be funny, where does like alcohol and wine fit into those particular carbohydrates?
So where does alcohol and wine fit in? It's a simple carb. It's sugar alcohols. It's when you drink alcohol, boom, it rushes your blood pretty much right away. It's obviously mixed drinks are the double whammy. You're getting all the sugars from the mixer, and then you're also adding in the sugar alcohols that you're drinking as well. So if you really, if you're trying to be a real clean drinker, just have a martini, straight up alcohol. A little bit of olive juice or something in there. Hey, all right. Okay, so then going back to portion sizes, like I was saying, just read through this so you kind of have an idea. With your complex carbs, like in the grains, you're trying to be conservative, and you're using these with fruits and or vegetables. Your fruits and vegetables are providing the majority of the roughage. So, the one way that I like to think of with portion sizes and like what types of foods are the best to eat, look at, if you were to take like a grain of rice and squish it, and then you can kind of almost see how much is in it. If you take like a bean and squish it, and it's like, there's a lot of like fiber in there. It doesn't have a whole lot of, strong substance to it. Air pockets and stuff in there, which is why you might get gas if you eat a lot of beans. But a bean and a grain of rice are almost the same amount of carbohydrate energy. So if you're having the same amount of beans and rice, that rice is going to have a lot more energy in it versus the beans. So I like to use beans a lot just because they take up a lot more space, a lot more fiber. Fruits and veggies, if depending on whatever else you're eating, you can kind of just say, hey, screw these recommendations, I'm going to eat a lot of it, especially with vegetables. I mean, you can really, the more you pile on, the better. It's just going to take up space in your stomach and give you more nutrients. Your animal meat, it's good to be somewhat moderate with animal meat, just because, like I was saying, if you have too much of it, it's just harder on your body to process, and you don't really need as much as society, the media tells you. We feel like we should eat a lot of meat, and we have a lot of value in meat, and I really believe that's just because for the vast majority of time in civilization, it's been a lot more scarce than anything else. Harder to get on the table, you know. Especially in America, going, you know, you look back 100 years, not really many people had a whole lot of meat to eat. It was kind of almost, you know, reserved for people that had more money. They had the chicken, they had the beef. The poor people were eating porridge, you know, beans and bread, and that was all they got, right? Stuff that they could get growing out of the ground. So a lot of value was placed on meat, and so, you know, I had to retrain myself, because I was always thinking, you know, I gotta eat meat, I gotta eat meat. Like, that's what's right. And I'm like, why do I always think that? Why am I always trying to eat more meat? Like, that's gonna be good for me. It's not that good for you to eat a ton of meat. If you can find your protein from vegan sources, your overall health and wellness is a lot higher. So I have on here only like 2 to 3 servings of protein per day, and you'll live a perfectly healthy life doing that. Yes?
So these serving sizes, is this just for this program, or is this like what we're supposed to be doing forever?
So these serving
like
sizes...
slice of bread, I can't really have a sandwich.
Right, yeah. So these are... And well, here's the other thing. So the question is, you know, are these serving sizes for forever or just for now? So this is mainly for, I'd say, people that are between the weight of 130 and 160 or 70. So a big guy like you do require more energy. Just the true fact of the matter. So, you know, but you just have to monitor it too. I mean, if you really want to have a sandwich with 2 pieces of whole grain bread and the rest of your day is super clean and healthy, it's not really a big deal, you know. And if you look at like the amount of grain servings per day, 3 to 5. Well, 1 slice, so 2 slices, that's just 2 servings of grains per day. You still have 3 more servings during the day that you can eat. So you're not really, I mean, kind of look at it like that, and just know that, like, if you have a very high activity level, if you have more muscle mass, if you're a bigger person overall in stature, then there are some changes that can and should be made without going overboard. Combo foods I have listed on here, these are just really awesome because they not only have carbohydrate value, but they have protein value and also fat. So especially like nuts and seeds, you know, hemp, flax, and chia seeds, they're really there. They really are superfoods. They're great for snacks because you cover every single macronutrient category by having a handful of nuts or a 1/4 cup if that's your hand size. But going down to cheese, or dairy I should say, so here's a story on dairy. I read a research study not too long ago, and this goes back to not eating processed food. Research study, 3 groups: non-fat group, like skim fat, like medium fat, like 2% group, and then whole fat dairy products. Followed them for 6 months and followed their body composition. The group that had the full fat dairy lost the most amount of weight over the 6 months. The group that had the non-fat did the poorest. And so what could that possibly mean? The non-fat, so a couple of reasons conclusions were drawn from this. One would be that non-fat is processed. It's not normal. It's not coming straight from a cow. It's not whole milk. You know, it's not full fat yogurt, full fat cottage cheese. They're running it through a process to strip all the fat out, and then they're like, no, here, it's non-fat. It won't make you fat. Well, as we now are learning, it's not fat that makes us fat. It's processed food that makes us fat. Yes. So yeah, question is, can you even do low fat? The less processed it is, the better for you. Like I was saying, the non-fat group did the worst over this 6-month study, and it's really the whole fat did the best, and right in the middle was the skim, right, like 2%. So if you can't bring yourself to eat full fat dairy, then just do as best you can. If you get the Greek yogurt instead of, yay, fat wins. And it's hard to find Greek yogurt that's higher than 2%. Like, not really many places carry it, and so for Greek yogurt, I'm usually always getting 2% because that's all I can find. But it's better for you and tastes better. Wait till you have it. It's delicious. Full fat cottage cheese. A lot of people are like, cottage cheese is gross. I'm like, try the full fat version. Try it. That's really good. Yes, it is. It's creamy and delicious, and it keeps you full a lot longer. Yes.
What are your recommendations for eggs?
What is the recommendation for eggs? Organic, free range. So free range is a tough term because it can be watered down, or access to outdoors. It's like, free range could mean that they let them out of their cages into a little pen for 1 hour of the day. That sucks. But, how do you know? I mean, it's hard. One way you could is to look at the different brands available in the store and then go Google them all, because people blog about all this stuff, and they go and they look at the farms and they find out, and they're like, oh, Wilcox does this, that, and this, and this company does this, and so you can find out, and then it takes maybe half hour of your life, but then you have your answers, and you can go with that for however long you want until you have to research it again to make sure that they didn't change their practices. But the information is out there. It's the information age. You can find out whatever you want to find out. But I would say, go with organic. That is, there are standards in order to be labeled organic. And, free range is better than not saying anything. And remember, once again, it's supporting sustainable farming practices and, humane practice for animals and stuff. Yes? Egg yolks are great. And, it's egg whites have their place still, and I'm not going to say, oh, don't eat egg whites, only eat whole eggs. But if you can find, like Trader Joe's does sell the free-range organic, or I don't think it's organic, but egg whites, jug of egg whites. So if you want to take that, it's very convenient, and so I'll have that in the fridge, and then just like when I'm making a smoothie, just dump some of that in and make it in a smoothie. Just get some protein in the smoothie instead of trying to do protein powders all the time. That's convenient, and so it's kind of like you're always just weighing it out, like, well, maybe I'll compromise some of my, guidelines because I need this convenience factor. I'm doing really well in all these other areas. Yeah. Is protein powder considered processed? Yes. No, I can't find it in nature. I tried.
Well, I mean, you advocate
No.
it. Yeah.
So yes.
I buy it from you.
Right. So with protein powder, you want to have the least, most minimally processed protein powders, and that is what we sell here because of obvious reasons. So most of the protein powders on the market, I think I was talking about this last time maybe, they put a lot of additives into their protein powders, artificial sweeteners and colors and things like that. And if it does not say that it comes from cows that have not been treated with antibiotics and hormones, it is coming from cows that have been treated with antibiotics and hormones. So you need to make sure that your brand says that on the label, because they're going to boast it because it's more expensive, right? So make sure of that. And protein powder, if you're buying it from a good company as well, they're processing it in a good way, so it's not denaturing the protein molecule, because then it's not as much as bioavailable either. And you know, you want to be drinking something that you have to have the least of in order to get the end result, right? You want more protein, you want your muscles to absorb it. Post-workout, your body's ready to absorb it, so drink a protein shake. Okay, let's see here. So reading and comparing nutrition labels is the next section here. This is something that you should all become familiar with. It sucks, it takes time, and you're like, I went to the store for a short list and I was there for an hour. It's horrible. But you only have to compare nutrition labels for a product once, and then you know. So you go looking for, let's say, well, this is yogurt, right? So here's the example here. How about that? So when you're looking at the different yogurts and you're trying to figure out which one you're supposed to buy, there's really just one way you should do it. You got to read the label. So you're looking at the label, you're looking at the other ingredients too, the ingredients list. That's probably the easiest way with dairy in particular to find out if it's a good dairy source. For example, with the cottage cheese over at the store next door, the what brand is that? Daisy. So we buy the Daisy one, and if you look at the ingredients, there's like 3 ingredients on there. That's it. And there's no like all this other list of stuff, and you're like, what the heck is that? And I don't even know how to say that. That's nice. You know, you want to be able to understand everything that's on there. I find myself seeing ingredients and pulling out my phone in the store and Googling what that is. I'm like, is this okay? You know, I don't even know what that is. And then you read about it, and oh, Wikipedia says okay, well, I guess so. You know, but it's, you know, you got to do your research. The good news is you only really have to do it once, usually for a product. Then you find your product. And like, okay, this is my brand. I'm going with this brand. I've researched it, and this is a good one. I'm gonna stick with that guy. So, you know, taking 2 and hold them side by side, and then, okay, this is better than this one. Let's try this one. Let's compare these 2 now. And so you're just, you know, process of elimination, trying to find out that one that works. Yeah.
Drew, what I struggle with is when I'm looking at these 2 examples, these are really easy for me because one is better all the way down. But a lot of times I'll be looking at 2 different things and I'm like, okay, this one has lower fat, oh, but it has more carbs, or
right. So
kind of mixed. What would be the priority?
Yeah. So what's the priority on these? You know, is it fat? Is it the carbs? Is it the sugar? Is it the protein? So what I would recommend you doing on that is trying to think about how you're going to fit this food into your overall diet. What are you looking for to gain out of this food? Are you looking for this to be a complex carbohydrate? Are you looking for it to be, you know, a protein source or a healthy fat source? And then that's really going to help you break down what you're looking to get out of it. I would say that, you know, if it's, you know, looking at the fats, and then you can go down to the ingredients, and you see that it's just probably all healthy fats that are in here. These don't look like processed fats. Okay, I like it. It's almost like, well, don't worry about it. Especially if you can't decide, just go to the ingredients label. And if you can determine that this is not a processed food, then it's probably just a whole food, and the nutrition label is lined up in the way that nature intended it to be. And it hasn't been adulterated. Because that's really what you're trying to avoid, is you're trying to avoid added sugar, you're trying to avoid them processing it to strip fat out. And so, you know, just looking at it to see, okay, well, I want fat to be low. Not always. You want the fat, if there is fat, it's natural, and it's normal, and it's okay. You know, if you are looking for something to dip your vegetables in, for example, I would say to be very cautious with how much fat's in it, because a lot of times, like, you'll buy, what is it, hummus, and you're looking at it like, okay, 3 grams of fat for a tablespoon, that's not too bad. I don't know about you, but I can put a tablespoon on a carrot. Little baby carrot, tablespoon. And you know, so it's like, looking, you know, thinking about how you're going to use it, I think is a really important way to determine what's important. It's hard for me to put a hierarchy on like what's going to be the most important. One way, I think, if you do need a method, I would probably say go with protein. It's higher in protein. Just remember, your body isn't really going to convert protein into fat. It's not as easy for it to do. It's going to just send it out the other side if you can't absorb all that protein. Okay, sugars. If it's too high in sugars, yes, your body is going to be able to convert that into fat pretty easily. The carbohydrate value comes next because, yeah, it's going to be able to convert that as well. Looking at the fats, like I was saying, if it looks like a non-processed fat, then don't worry about it too much. If saturated fat is too high, you can start to worry about it a little bit more, especially if it's in the scope of your overall diet, like how does it fit in. And this will also make a lot more sense when we get into meal tracking and journaling, because then you'll be able to see in the overall grand scheme of things in the day, how much fat have I had, how much carbs have I had, how much protein have I had. And then when you make that decision on what's important, you'll know, because you'll be able to see, especially, so just a little skip forward, there is an app that I would recommend you using for your meal tracking on a smartphone, the MyFitnessPal app, because, that's in here, but it breaks down everything, and so you can see at the end of the day where your calories are coming from. And then you can make adjustments. You're like, wow, I'm really not having enough healthy fats. Like, I really need to find more sources for that. So when you're making your decision on what to get, that's another, tool to use. Okay? Let's see. So on this next page now, just kind of going over the things we've talked about. We didn't talk about using the percent daily value, which is a good, useful tool. And so what that is going to tell you then as well is what, if you're a normal person, this is how much of this you should be, this is, in your overall diet, how much you should be having for just general health. The percent daily value is not going to be exact to you. We go over how to break down how much protein, carbs, and fats you should have in the next week. So those daily values will come a little more handy. It'll also make more sense when you start meal tracking. But that's another way just to look at it. If that seems very high, if you're looking at the fats and it says that it's 30% of your daily fat intake, it's probably a red flag. That's a lot, right? If it's a smaller percentage, okay, I can fit this in. I got room to fit it in. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different diets, just so you have an idea of where we're going with all this. So fad diets, it's requiring you to purchase a specific product or eliminate specific food groups and macronutrients. So when you hear about someone saying, I'm on this diet, and you're like, oh, what's that? Well, I buy these shakes and I drink them all day. Like, well, that's a fad diet. Okay, that's not sustainable long term, and it's actually kind of what we did when we first started, but we did it in a very controlled way, and then walked out of it in a 3-day transition, and now going into Whole Foods. Whole Foods diet would be the last one on here. Crash diet. So crash diet is also kind of what you did in the first 3 days. But once again, it was controlled, and so, like I said, these can be fad diets and crash diet, short-term, controlled, and done with Whole Foods. Now it's not so bad. Okay, but just be aware in the future, so you know if you're going to try something else, what you're getting into. That you pretty much always should be using Whole Foods. If you're relying on shakes or bars or anything like that, it's processed food for the most part, all the time. Chronic dieting. So that's just, back and forth. You go on something extreme and then you fall off the wagon. And then you do something extreme and then you fall off the wagon. So in order to avoid being a chronic dieter, you have to stick with this program and you have to make it a lifestyle, otherwise you'll be a chronic dieter. Because then next time I do it, you'll be like, I gotta do it. I fell off the wagon. Chronic dieter. But that's okay. I mean, it's hard. The temptations are all around. So, but lastly, like I was saying, Whole Foods diet. Whole Foods is how your body lives. It's at its best. And it's really hard to overconsume whole foods and gain weight. It really is. So especially if you're active, like you. So just so you know, there. I don't know if you've ever heard of the potato diet, but one of the I forget who he was, like some CEO of a potato company. He decided for 30 days to eat nothing but potatoes, and he lost like 15 pounds. Like he just ate like 10 potatoes a day. So what? You know, you're just like, how could you eat that much carbs and lose weight? It's not processed food. Your body can deal with it. There's a lot of fiber and good stuff in whole foods, right? And like I'm saying, it's processed food. Your body can't break it down. It can't use it. A lot of times it sees processed food and it's like, we're gonna have to store that. I can't deal with that right now. So remember that. I think you're gonna be set. Okay, so that's the end of that. Now, you have Sustainable Eating for Life, a couple pages back. My book is missing week 3 or week 4. Is anyone else missing week 4? Week 4. Yeah. Who made these? It wasn't me. Okay, if you don't have week 4, let me know, because I just realized it's not there in my book. Okay? Anyway, Sustainable Eating for Life. So, what I've done here, a lot of times in the past, I've made it super simple. Like 4 ingredients, and then you're like, how do I cook it? Figure it out. So this is a little bit different. This is more along the lines of, here's your ingredients, here's how to cook it. Okay? With this it goes breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. There are some that are easier to make and some that are more complex to make. When looking through this is what you're going to start when you're done with your what you started with. So you do your 3-day detox, 3-day transition. You're doing a 7th day, which is the very same as a transition, but you get a cheat meal. And then you're going to start the Sustainable Eating for Life, okay? You can dumb this down. You can do just like you were doing with the transition and just adding, you know, some complex carbs, some protein together. That's a real easy way to do that. Or make these fancier dishes. With all of these, this is going to skip ahead to meal prepping. Make a lot. Understand your portion sizes. We'll go back to portion sizes so you know how much you're supposed to eat so you don't overeat. But make a lot of it. Don't just make one meal, because you can't just make one meal every time you're going to eat. There's not that much time in the day. But if it takes you 30 minutes to make a meal, one meal, but you multiply all the ingredients, you're going to add like 5 to 10 minutes tops to make 5 meals instead of 1. And so, you know, you look at the net time save and it's tremendous. It's hours saved, right? So you have to meal prep. You have to make more than one. So what I recommend now is, while getting ready to go into this, I want you guys to go into week 3 and read all that, because it's meal tracking and prepping. Okay, so it talks about how to track your meals, talks about, you know, counting calories and meal prepping. That's all really important knowledge to have when going into this, and then also you've hopefully put it into practice a little bit when we're talking about it next week, so it's real. It's not something that I'm saying go ahead and do that and then you go figure it out. You've already started it, and maybe you get it right off the bat and it's no problem. You're meal prepping, you've got all your Tupperwares lined up, and meals, you open up the fridge and it's just like, ah, and just, you know, rows of Tupperware, like, I'll take one of these and throw in my cooler bag and I'm gonna go out the door. And so maybe that's you, and maybe it's not. You're like, I'm struggling. But if you already struggled through it and then we come and talk about it, then it's going to click. Okay, so go over week 3, read it all, learn about it, start trying to do it, and then when we talk about it, it'll be a good little mix, okay? And like, yeah, so you can go through the meal plan at the end of this and try to make some of those. They're not horribly complex, but you know, the more ingredients, a little bit more tasty it's gonna get, a little bit longer your shopping list is. But you know, I wanted to give you something to make your meals delicious, because if they're delicious, your family could eat them too, right? And if it's just sweet potatoes, chicken breast, and steamed broccoli, no one's gonna eat that but you. And then you're gonna struggle because it's just you and everyone else is, I want this, and so, well, are you gonna make it for them? Okay. But if you make a delicious meal, then everyone probably will eat it. And it's just got more ingredients, that's all. Because healthy food can be very delicious. And once you start getting the hang of it and starting to understand like the different ingredients and start doing that, you know, then it's like, wow, this is really awesome. Yeah.
Can you just clarify a little bit, like day 4, going into the transition diet, what's eating for us for the next 3 days?
Yes. So let's go back into week 1 and look at the transition diet. So in this 3-day transition diet, you are still continuing to try and eat lots of fruits and vegetables. But what you're doing is you're adding in some protein and some complex carbohydrates. Okay? What I've done is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, made it really simple. I'm like, just eat this. Don't deviate. Just eat this. If you have to deviate, there are some choices when you flip the page. You got complex carbs, proteins, fats, and a list of fruits and veggies. So if you need to deviate, you can do it. And then, like I was saying, if you don't want to make fancy meals for your next one, the sustainable eating plan, you can go back to the list of foods and just start choosing. And then be aware of your portion sizes and go from there. So you're gonna pick, you know, like you can even mix complex carbs, right? So if you're trying to make a meal out of what you've got on hand, you're looking, all right, I got quinoa, I got beans, and I got corn. Cool. Throw them together. You know, mix it into a pot, warm it up, and then just know that your serving size is probably going to be half a cup. So half a cup, there it goes in that Tupperware. Okay, and then you've got your vegetables going. Cool. Vegetables, put those in the Tupperwares. Protein, same difference, right? Some healthy fats. And how I like to add healthy fats, the easiest way for me to add healthy fats, flaxseed, hemp, and shea. And so I just like, you know, avocado's delicious. Olive oil, adding that, yeah. Coconut oil for cooking, yeah. It's like, well, how do I get my healthy fats in? I have my 3 bags of seeds, milled flax, shelled hemp hearts, and chia seeds. Chia seeds you have to really use with liquid. But the other ones, I'm just like, what would taste better with this? Flax or hemp? And I'll add one, or I'll add both of them, you know, serving size. And I just sprinkle that on top, and there's my healthy fat. Cool. Ready to go.
I'm going off your serving size in here for starting tomorrow? For the,
yeah.
what we're
Yeah.
adding, the protein?
Right, yeah. Yeah, go with those and start adding these in.
So like eggs in the morning, how many eggs? What does it say?
2. 2 eggs is cool. You could do 1 egg and some egg whites. That's fine. But I would, you know, you want some of the fats. That yolk is good for you. It's got most of the protein, and those fats are good for you. So.
Oh, two bits of good news.
Yay!
Like the yolk.
Yeah, gotta love the yolk, right?
No cheese yet, right?
Was that?
No cottage cheese or anything yet. That's next week.
Yeah, if you can stay away from the dairy right now, that would still be a good idea in your 3-day transition. Just because, remember, you just detoxed, and dairy can be an inflammatory agent in the body, so trying to keep that out and let your body keep doing what it's doing. Yeah.
You got non-dairy cream or dirty?
Non-dairy creamer is processed food and it'll make you gain weight.
Okay. Oh, I was just wondering, not that I've done it.
Yeah, a tablespoon of coconut oil is great in coffee. Yeah, and my favorite is the bulletproof coffee. I don't know if you've ever done bulletproof coffee. So if you're looking for something to put in your coffee, get the Kerrygold unsalted butter. And you put a tablespoon of that, and then a tablespoon of coconut oil. Yes.
I've run into
Yeah.
It's okay?
So here's the deal with this bulletproof coffee.
Didn't I say that for my potato?
No.
Anyway.
So you're having that in a fasted state. So you wake up, you want to have your coffee. This isn't something you're just going to have throughout the day. Like, I'm having 4 cups of coffee and I'm doing it all day. It's just when you wake up. So your body is woken up, you have no energy on board. You have the caffeine with the fats and your body burns it. It's like, cool, energy, I'll take it, use it. And it burns it. And your brain uses it too. It actually is your brain, it's weird. So your brain's preferred energy source is carbohydrates, glucose. However, it functions better off of fats. But remember we were talking about earlier that your nervous system really needs fats in order to function properly. And so your brain is using the fats for energy, and it's also making a nice little environment in there. And it like wakes you up like you haven't had a cup of coffee ever do. And you don't necessarily have to use the butter if you're really sketched out. Just use the coconut oil. That's fine. It's a lot of it really is that it's called medium chain triglyceride. That's a specific fat in the coconut oil that your brain is really loving. So you can go like that. But the butter at that point is not going to hurt you, and it's not processed. It's a Kerrygold. It comes from grass-fed cows in Ireland. It's completely unprocessed. It's just pure, lovely butter, and your body can use it for energy. It doesn't store it as fat, especially without any other food in the system. Your body just burns it up and uses it. And you'll notice, interestingly enough, that when you have this cup of coffee, you get hot. Like you're like, whoa, whoo, I'm going, I feel warm. It's because when your body burns fat for energy, it gives off heat. And so this was first noticed by the guys hiking Everest, or K2 or something like that, right? The Sherpas are just eating butter. Like, what? What are you doing? And they're like, oh yeah, it's great. Keeps them warm. So they can burn it for energy, and it keeps them warm because when you're turning that fat into energy, it's giving off a ton of heat in your body. So that bulletproof coffee, it lights you up in the morning. I'm telling you.
With the coconut oil in our coffee, we spent that, so we probably don't want to do it every day later post-workout.
Coconut oil in a post-workout smoothie wouldn't be a bad thing. No, it'd be fine. Especially.
You had it earlier in your coffee.
What's that?
You had it earlier.
Well, remember, post-workout, once again, you're in a fasted state, so it wouldn't be a bad thing. You know, you do want to have post-workout some fruits, because that will elevate your blood sugar, but that blood sugar is soaked up into your muscles at that point because your muscles are drained of their energy, so they're going to absorb that blood sugar. So that works out nicely. Yeah? Someone else had a question over here? No? Thought I had a hand over here. Sorry. Yeah.
So I do like mostly 6 a.m. workouts, so I couldn't eat breakfast before that workout. I was just like, no, it's not going to get free. What should I eat before, and then my after workout snack, that's my breakfast?
Yeah, so if you are working out first thing in the morning and you're not able to eat before you work out, I mean, if you don't experience a whole lot of energy loss by waking up and just working out, you could just have the bulletproof coffee. I mean, that would work. A lot of people, you know, it kind of depends on the person, right? So like I have bulletproof coffee, and like it just shoots my metabolism up, and all of a sudden I'm like starving, like, oh my gosh, I have to eat. And some people are like, I didn't need to eat for hours. It totally like tided me over. So you have to kind of like figure out for yourself, but your body will use that for energy. And it just depends on like your individual body type and how your metabolism is going to use it, and just feel it out as you go. But if you can't eat breakfast before you work out, then yeah, I'd say do something simple like that. You can have, you know, a piece of fruit or so before you work out, just to give you some blood sugar to work with. And so one thing that's very useful in terms of trying to engage your body fat for energy while exercising is you need a little energy on board. So if you just wake up and try and work out, a lot of times you'll find that you're just dragging through it, and you're like, wow, I really got to dig deep to do this workout. When you feel like you're really digging deep, you're probably going catabolic, meaning that you're burning muscle fiber for energy. Okay? It feels horrible when you're doing it, and that's why, because your body's trying to make you stop. It's like you're just worried, I can't keep up with the energy demands that you're trying to put on me right now. That's when you need some blood sugar, because your body has a really hard time getting into a fat burn cycle without any blood sugar. Okay? So prior to working out, if you feel like you're dying, you need to have some, like a piece of fruit. It's also very handy to have fruit on hand, intending to eat it post-workout. But if you're tanking during a workout and you're like just dragging through it and digging deep, go eat that fruit now, get back to your workout and have a better workout. Go get another piece of fruit afterwards. Any other questions? Yes?
The butter you talk about, where do you get it? What is it?
The butter I was referring to is Kerrygold, and it's over at Trader Joe's. They also have it at Fred & Meyer, and it's just the unsalted Kerrygold.
When do you start that on program?
Yeah, so after day 7, really, you'll start the sustainable eating program. Good? Sweet! Keep it up, keep losing weight. We'll update these next week. And if you're exercising and eating whole foods, the weight loss just keeps happening. Your body's just going to keep using fat for energy. So, good job. I'm proud of you guys. It's working. You're doing it.